Today I want to talk about the Metaverse, and it's not Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse, it's the actual Metaverse that is accessible to everyone potentially, and how we can use this idea of the Metaverse to affect our healing and affect fundamental change in our bodies and lives. So if you're seeing this video on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, please like it, please share it on YouTube or wherever you find it, on Facebook, Instagram, etc. I also syndicate these videos to podcast form, so you can find the Bio-Soul Integration podcast in this episode wherever you listen to your podcasts. So please do that. And I've written a book here called If It Didn't Hurt, How to Resolve Your Pain and Discover Your Life's Purpose, which is kind of the ultimate guide to embodying your pain's wisdom. It's kind of the idea is that the pain, the problem is the gateway, is the portal to realizing your authentic self, which is a version of yourself in which your soul's essence is integrated into these bodies, such that you can share your gifts with the planet. So that you can find that on my website at biosoulintegration.com. You can find it on Amazon in all of its forms, but if you want the paperback, you can find it on my website at biosoulintegration.com, and you get $3 off there. And you have an option, $3 less than on Amazon, and you have the option to read just to get the first chapter and read it if you like. Okay, so let's get into this. So the Metaverse. I have been having an experience lately, which is a common cyclical experience that I've experienced all through the course of my 20 years of being in practice. And there are moments when life is expansive, and we are connected to our more spiritual self, and the angels are singing, and there are times when life is more contractive, when we're being asked to look more closely at the parts of ourselves that maybe we've pushed away, that maybe we don't want to look at, our shadow basically, parts of ourselves that we've repressed. And that's there's two fundamental forces that are at work in the universe, which is expansion and contraction. And since we are embedded in the fabric of life, the universe is kind of expanding and contracting. It's creating more novelty all the time, and then it's integrating that novelty all the time. And since we are embedded in the fabric of life, the same thing is happening to us. We are being asked to include more parts of ourselves, and then we're asked to sort of integrate those parts of ourselves into the whole. And when the contractive phase happens, life can seem kind of tight. Our shit, if you will, is up. Whatever our issue is up for reassessment. And my issue on and off, one of my major issues on and off, has been around my practice and around financial stuff and the size of, feeling successful in my practice. And there's just a theme that comes up where maybe it gets a little slow, and I get triggered. And I start to look at the lack. I start to see the lack of people, the lack of money, whatever. And then that field of lack gets bigger and bigger and bigger until all I can focus on is the lack. And after a certain amount of time of living that way, I just realize, wow, I cannot. My tendency is to say, all right, and my experience is, if you penetrate the pain with enough kindness, enough kind attention, that you will liberate the energy that's bound up in there, and there will be a turnaround. And that usually requires help. And I find that I can't do that by myself. And so eventually I have to decide to kind of quit living that way. And I'm reminded of a lesson that I learned over and over again, that started way back 20 years ago, when I was about to graduate from chiropractic school. And I was in pain. I had low back pain and was feeling like a fraud about to graduate from chiropractic school. And in a moment of desperate rage, I sort of asked that pain, what do you want from me? And there was silence, and then there were tears, and then out of that, after the tears, there was some space, and out of that space came a very, sort of seemingly unimportant realization, which was very important, which is that I needed help. I was stuck. I didn't know how to get myself out of it, and I needed help. And that very day, a friend of mine, like the universe served it up. That very day, a friend of mine suggested I go see this woman who did this network chiropractic thing, and I went to see her, and about 15 sessions with her, and I left that office one time, and I felt 300 pounds lighter, and suddenly the sky, the colors in the sky was more vivid, the color on the trees was more vivid. I was overwhelmed by this sense of like, wow, life is really cool, and there's great possibilities I have here, which was unusual for me. I was definitely generally sort of cynical and going down a dark place, focusing on lack a lot, and looking back, what I realized what that was called was gratitude. And I had this sense of like this amazing feeling moving through my body, but at the time I didn't know what it was. But it's called gratitude, and under the influence of gratitude, I was seeing, all these versions of what was possible, all the good things that were possible. And then my low back pain went away, and so on top of that, and so I was like, wow, this is really cool. A veil was removed from my eyes, and my low back pain went away. So I saw how gratitude and even just my physical pain were somehow related, and I wanted to share that with people. So I've been doing that for 20 years, and I keep learning the same lesson over and over again about gratitude and how important it is. And so I get to a place where there's all, overwhelmed by lack, and I have to eventually just create gratitude and focus on the gratitude. But in that feelings, it's parallel to the place that I was in way back when I started chiropractic school, because when I'm in that place, what happens is you come to some acceptance about being stuck, and the thing that always comes to the surface when you have some acceptance around being stuck is I need some help. And so I've been seeing a therapist, which has been very helpful. And I also discovered, he discovered me really. Again, the universe served him up. But I've been on these, they're like podcasting sites, where a site that hooks up podcast guests with podcast hosts and vice versa. And this guy, his name is Drosko, he found me on there, and he proposed to do a free complimentary coaching session, that it be filmed, so it makes material that he can use. And so I agreed because it was timely. And I had that session with him yesterday. And it was pretty profound and pretty important. I told him everything that was going on, and he pointed out that I'm seeing through the universe, seeing through the lens, living through the lens of I'm broken. And everything that I do when I'm living from that place is, he used the example of you draw a house. You draw a house it's got a roof, maybe the bottom of the house, make a nice door with a doorknob there, you got a house. Everyone recognizes that as a house. And then you can even add more detail to it. You can shade in the roof and make the shingles, and you can put in the siding, and you can again shade things and give it bushes, and paint it, color it, add all this detail, all of this resolution. But you still, even after you add all the resolution and the detail, you still have a house. It's still a house. And so the idea is that all this work that you're doing to change your situation is being done from a place of I'm broken, or whatever it is for you. I don't deserve love, or I'm not worthy, or there's something wrong with me, or whatever the story is, the crappy story that we learned from way back when, that we adopted and tell ourselves we're seeing the world through that lens, and everything we do is just creating more resolution and detail in that universe that we've created for ourselves. And it kind of sounds simple and not profound, but that just really struck me. I realized, wow, yeah, I'm just living from that place, and everything I do is just creating resolution, creating more detail from the same place. He's like, what if you could not live in that place? What if you could live in a world where you're not broken? And as he started to talk, now I've done a lot of work, when things get tight, when life asks me to take a closer look, like I do that. I start I meditate more. I've been seeing a therapist, like I said, really doing a lot of work. And so I think I was ripe for this sort of realization. But as he was talking, it's like I could start to see this other version of myself. I started to feel this other universe, really, this other version of myself. It's like a fish in water. Like a fish, at first when he was talking, it's like I didn't really, that's great, but I don't have any direct experience of that. I don't know how to get there. I can't really even see it. It's like a fish that's swimming in water. A fish doesn't know it's swimming in water because it's never seen anything else. If you told a fish that it could have another life out of water, it's like, well, whatever. I have no idea about that because all I've ever known is water. And it doesn't even know it's swimming in water because that's all it's ever done. It doesn't have any contrast. It doesn't have anything to compare it to. But as he was talking like this, I could start to feel this other version of me, this other universe, kind of like come into my awareness. It kind of like started winking at me, sort of, and calling me in a way, So the other universe, the other version of me is a version in which I'm not broken, which is really cool, right? That's really cool. It's a lot better than the version where you're broken. And then the session was pretty much over. But I could tell something profound had happened. And that night, like, I could not sleep. It's like if you've ever, the full moon's out, or you're doing a lot of work in your dreams, or you've freed up a lot of resources in your body somehow. And often as that stuff moves, it keeps you from sleeping. So there's a lot of energy moving because I had freed up some resources, started to pry myself away from this I'm broken universe, and couldn't sleep. And I was thinking about this situation, thinking and feeling this other world. And I realized, wow, I started to become aware of the fact that, there had been enough space there where I stood back and I kind of became aware of the world, the universe that was holding both of those places. And I started to think this place where I'm not broken, this universe or this version of myself where I'm not broken is pretty cool, but I bet that there are a whole bunch of other options in this place that's meta. Meta is like it includes and transcends everything else. Like if you're watching a movie, you see through the screen, but there's like a meta world, a whole meta world that's happening that you can't see. There's lighting and there's directors and there's other people, things like that. That's the meta information. That's the meta world around the world that you see. And so as I was able to sort of get a little space from the part of me that was broken, I stepped into this universe, this meta space, this meta world that contained both of those versions of myself. And I realized I'm more interested in the meta world, or if you will, the metaverse, I realized. And I thought, well, probably there are other versions, other things to explore here, other versions of myself that are even cooler maybe than just I'm not broken. And probably I could create versions of myself and explore versions of myself, like versions of myself in which I'm really awesome, in which, I have no trouble attracting clients and making money, or whatever it is. For another person, it might be like attracting someone in a love relationship into their life, or a physical, it could a version of themselves in which they're not in physical pain. That's probably possible. So I realized, and again, this might sound, it's like, if you've ever, maybe you have an experience where if you've ever been stoned And you think thoughts while you're stoned, and you think, wow, these are really cool thoughts. And then when you're sober, you're like, it doesn't quite have the same, it doesn't quite have the same feeling of importance as it did. This is kind of similar. Like, I was in a state, in a world where this was feeling really profound, and it still is. So I had stepped into the metaverse, this world where I could sort of create what I imagine I could create what I wanted and experience it. And so that's the real metaverse. That's the metaverse that Zuckerberg stole his idea from, basically. I've always felt that even with Facebook, that like Mark Zuckerberg was really tapped into something. You can't create something that huge and not be tapped into something, something important. And he, I think we were sort of ready. Consciousness was evolving in such a way that we were ready to experience more connection. And so the internet came along, and there's lots of capability, lots of potential for us to be more connected through the internet. And so Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, and his goal that he wanted to create that from was a place of, I want to connect everyone. I want there to be more connection. And he did that. And it's just that it got corrupted by other things along the way, corporate, needs beholden to the shareholders and to make money and all that. It probably got corrupted along the way and lost its sort of original innocent impetus, which was this impetus to sort of connect so that humans could be more connected. And so, it was drawing from something that was becoming available in consciousness. And I think this metaverse idea, this idea where we can sort of unhook from these fundamental identities that are causing us suffering in life, this is an idea that is becoming available to us. And Mark Zuckerberg, again, was sort of picking up on that in creating his metaverse. And I think it also illustrates that, again, connection, we need each other. How, so I guess the question is, how do you choose or go to this other universe? So I'm still like functioning from the place of I'm broken. To be honest, I'm looking at this other version of myself and the potential of that from the I'm broken place still. I don't know how to sort of totally adopt the new thing. I don't know how to get there totally. Maybe that'll be some other videos where I figure that out. But I can at least see the potential. So there needs to be a consciousness shift. Einstein said you can't solve a problem from the same, or he said something like this. He is said to have said something like this, that you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. And so there needs to be this consciousness shift. And in order to do that, we need help. We need someone to help, someone who can see, someone to help us bridge that gap, like this Drosko guy did for me. And maybe I'll put his information in the description if you're interested in checking him out. He helps people who are struggling with their business basically realize that they're the problem with their business. they're the problem. But anyway, we need help, whether that's a therapist, whether that's people who do work like I do, whether that's a book. It's happened to me with books. We need something or someone to help bridge the gap between the consciousness that's not working anymore and the new consciousness. So those are my thoughts about the metaverse and what's possible. Anyone can access the metaverse, which is, again, this universe where we just sort of step back and where we can create what's possible or choose or make different choices. that are not available to us when we're sort of in survival mode and identified with versions of ourselves that are born out of survival, that were born from at a very early age out of survival. So I hope that was useful somehow. Hope it was interesting to you. If you think so, please like it. Please hit the, share it, hit the like button, and again, subscribe to my channel. Check out my book if you want at biosoulintegration.com. Get it $3 less than you would on Amazon. Read the first chapter for free. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I look forward to helping you express more life. Have a great day.